Greetings, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Not Funny Guys Presents Red Dwarf Rewatch. I am your host, Dr. John, and we have made it all the way to episode 2 of Series 12. What am I saying? I wish it was Series 2. Siliconia, directed and written by Doug Naylor. This one was released on the 19th of October, 2017. So let's break it down. So we open on Crichton ironing when he gets a call from Kat, who is freezing. Apparently it's his shirt that he's being ironed. Rimmer calls about mopping the floor on B deck, and Lister wants Lister literally buzzes him from inside the same room wanting a beer and told that he could get it himself when they get an alert. And so we cut to a scene of what appears to be Lister's guitar floating through space. Back on the ship, Rimmer is scanning the floor when Crichton comes upon him. He's investigating the floor direction lines. Crichton calls it rimmering. Crichton apparently wants to talk to him. Complains that he doesn't have a schedule in for him. It's very full. Crichton then tells him it's about Lister's guitar, and all of a sudden Rimmer is interested. It's almost something to the day since it was flushed into space. No exact timeline, but apparently they found it, which is the bad news, because Rimmer apparently thinks they should put up a plaque just to rub it in Rimmer's face, but in fact they've actually found it, and Rimmer basically tries to order him not to tell Lister. He defies it, tells him, and so automatically they're all out in Starbug going to retrieve it. They're finally able to get rid of his temporary replacement, which is literally like a bowl plugged up. It's awful. They talk about having a conversation about thinking. Kat doesn't go near the stuff, which we will see later played out physically. They find the guitar in orbit, and they seek to retrieve it with a claw, like a claw machine. As they retrieve it, someone else is doing a claw retrieval on Starbug itself, some sort of alien ship. They find out it's the SS Vespasian, a freighter. There are life signs, and it basically turns out to be mechs, because immediately when they get on board, one of them proceeds to attack Kat. So the ship is manned by mechs. They arrest everybody minus Crichton. Apparently the group in charge of this ship is the Mechanoid Intergalactic Liberation Front, or MILF, another fun acronym. The ship crewed by mechs. Though they do call themselves, they are just like Crichton. They roam space apparently to liberate their fellow mechs and in their search for Siliconia. Crichton claims that he's not a slave. They tell him he's a slave. He tells them, I'm not a slave. But then they say, do you serve your crew? And Crichton claims he's treated well. Crichton claims that he doesn't think that they've done wrong to him. He's questioned about his whole outlook. Basically told he has Stockholm Syndrome, and that the mechs are going to help him. The lead one, Wind, played by Richard Glover, specifically giving him the speech. The rest of the crew has been taken off to get recalibrated. While they're in the process of this getting put into these chairs, Rimmer calls them out, basically questioning that they're adhering to Asimov's first law of robotics, which is that a robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. Now, Areto, played by Laura Chensky, the mech in charge with them there, tells them that they will all eventually die, and so that doing nothing would be a violation of the law. So they have decided to prevent this by uploading them to mech bodies as a workaround. And so this is what happens. They get their brains transferred into mech bodies, and somehow it has a real hard My favorite is when Kat, this is another example of the knowledge thing and thinking. When they transfer Kat, it feels like nothing happens. It's like a little beep. Where Rimmer and Lister get like a loud noise or like a longer noise, the Cat gets like a pin drop. Very little to transfer, let's just say. So the crew now look like Crichtons. Their punishment for them is to do the labor they had once done, had Crichton do. So Lister is made in charge of creating sandwiches, Rimmer is set to mopping the floors, and Kat is set to doing ironing. And their new programming sort of compels them to obey these orders, no defiance. Crichton, in the meantime, has been set up with a support group for robot slave survivors, led by a mech named Excalibur. There's these testimonials about slave labor and that they were being subjected to. Crichton even joins in by raising his hand about the crew making fun of his head shape. It's all part of his sort of deprogramming for him. And they ask him to start with something small. After some pressure, he comes clean about Lister's bad habits. We then now cut to the crew, who's now mech bodies working on their tasks. Cat is initially hating the ironing, Rimmer is kind of into the mopping, and even Lister's into the sandwich making, and then it's quickly realized that this is them submitting to the programming. Lister is, of course, realizing that this is erasing their individuality, and of course, they need to escape and save Crichton. However, Crichton appears to be often some basic version of, I guess, robot heaven. They do escape but then Rimmer sounds the alarm. He is giving in to his programming. He likes being a mech. Doesn't have to worry about becoming an officer and all those pressures. So he's the one who's most gone, and he talks about wanting to be a fish in a fish tank when he was younger. So Cat and Lister are able to have to go off without him. They find other mechs that are also 4000 series, but they're the Mark IIs, not the 3s. And they are the slaves doing all the work on the ship. So we have a big old hypocrisy here. Rimmer tries to explain things, and they just don't understand, but they almost get caught again by Rimmer. Lister and them run again. Lister gets his hand cut off. Crichton is in the midst of about to join MILF officially when Lister comes upon him in time, reminds him that he is also their science officer. He's like a mom and a friend. He's not a slave mech on their ship. And he ends up then exposing to Crichton the hypocrisy that the Mark IIIs are doing to the Mark IIs, based on these minuscule differences. So it reminds me of a weird fantasy or weird science EC comics called Judgment Day, where the exposure of these blue and orange robots of being it's a story about segregation, but it has elements of it here. They're going to be put on trial though in the gladiatorium. Crichton basically comes to his senses, realizing he's a member of the Red Dwarf crew. However, Rimmer is going to get promoted for selling them out, and Crichton or Lister are going to face each other in a cleanup to the death. And Lister now finally submits himself to the mech's programming. He goes after Crichton. Crichton then has to help Lister break from his new programming, and Crichton then goes going on to be sent out. He loses the competition, and he's going to be sent out the airlock. The only thing that stops any of this from going horribly wrong is they're interrupted by apparently them finding Siliconia, and all the mechs realize that they all are the same. Again, another reference to the segregation element or racist element that you might be pushing back against here in a comedic form. But something very similar happens in Judgment Day when the human Tarleton points out that underneath things, and now all the mechs look the same too. They all have the nice black matte finish on the outside, realizing also that, they might also be all alike on the inside. So they're realizing they're all the same. Crichton takes the crew, puts them back in their bodies, reverses everything, and they, of course, leave on Starbug. The mechs apparently have decided on a new mission that they're going to go off and clean the universe. Crichton tells them he's going to stay where he is. He presents Lister with his restrung guitar. Lister is about to play, and he brings Crichton like a cup of oil, and Crichton leaves. He asks, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to B-Deck to the airlock." "Which one?" "The soundproof one." Of course, because even though we have restored him to his ability to play guitar, nobody wants to listen to it. So, that's where we leave for now. Next time we'll have, Time Wave, I think is our episode next week, or next time, Time Wave. But again, fun little story, interesting sort of underlying moral tale. Like I said, it reminded me very much, and if you've been watching the video, you've seen me sharing some images from that. But that is where we leave it for now. Remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff. We want to hear from you guys. If you want to write us directly and tell us some of your thoughts, your ideas, you can reach us either contacting us on social media in the ticker in the description below, or in the ticker we have our email, notfunnyguys.offthereels@gmail.com. Please let us know things you like, things you want to see more of. We're very eager and open to listen to you. Like I said, we'll be moving on to news radio sooner than I want to, but we will be bouncing back and forth, and I still plan on doing some more stuff with Red Dwarf, maybe some shorts, rankings, things like that, stuff on the TikTok. Who knows? We'll see. In the meantime, if you'd like to check out some more Not Funny Guys products, some of our milieu, if you want to be snooty like that, as some people do, but you can check out our main podcast, which you'll be seeing some of our YouTube episodes of that being broadcast here. That is Not Funny Guys. Right here, presents Off the Reels. You can check us out. That's where we do movies, and we're currently working on the Batman films. And our newest episode going up next week will be Batman, the movie with Michael Keaton from 1989. So check that out. And like I said, you'll be seeing that can be both in a podcast form and in the YouTube form, where you can consume that here as well. We also have other podcasts from the Not Funny Guys. We have our my Not Funny colleagues Casey and Eric. They do theirs. Not Funny Guys presents Wrestling with the Horror of It All. That's what it is. Where they talk about wrestling and horror movies. You can check that out. You can also check out myself. I have a solo episode, short one, up on Not Funny Guys Thinking About Thinking, but the main podcast is me, Dr. John, and our Not Funny gal, Dr. Kristen. We talk about things that we're thinking about, and next week we will be having a 2-part episode, so you get 2 episodes next week, where we're going to talk about anti-Semitism. So this kind of stuff we talk about: culture, AI, academics, thinking, things we are thinking about. So you can come check that out as well. However, until then, remember, don't be a smeghead, keep it not funny, and I'll see you next time.